Welcome, everybody, to this free preview of Travel Truths Lessons Learned Abroad. My name is Brian Michalski, and I'm going to take you through just part of this presentation. And when people hear that I've been around the world a couple of times and spent 14 months in South America, they say a few things, including, "You must be fearless. You must be rich. It must be so nice to vacation forever." And I'll admit, I've seen a lot of great iconic views, monuments, but what doesn't make it into Instagram? What doesn't make the family Christmas newsletter? What about missing the last non-refundable bus out of town? Working alone in the hostel while all your new hostel buddies are out partying? Eating alone in a foreign country where you know no one and homesickness is hitting you very hardly? It's not fearlessness. I feel the fear and do it anyway. I'm certainly not rich. I saved ahead, I budgeted along the way, and made sacrifices as I backpacked. It's certainly not a vacation. It's a real time education full of rapid fire decisions. Travel didn't help me escape life. It taught me how to pay attention to it. I think you can gather that the presentation is not about specific destinations, cities, countries, and we'll certainly get tastes of those places. But we're going to go beyond that concept. It's the lessons that I learned along the way and how I've applied them to my own life as I go forward now. The agenda is broken up into three sections. First, the traveler's mindset. I'm going to give you a bit of how you can focus your mind and essentially hit the ground running before you get to the country or the places that you plan to visit, followed by connecting with the world. This will include volunteering abroad, connecting with other cultures in the sense of immersing yourself in the culture, with the people, learning about it ahead of time and during. Lastly, what matters most? Getting away from the chaotic cities, enjoying nature, and of course, fostering connections with new friends that you've made along your journey. I also include a Q&A to finish. Briefly about me, I grew up in Des Plaines. I was a classroom teacher for half a decade. So I taught kindergarten, first and second grade. As much as I loved that, I was equally excited to get out there into the world. So that is the aforementioned two times around the world, 14 months in South America, totaling five collective travel years in an 11-year period. So we're going to of course, reference those along the way. Today, I am able to speak about these topics. I'm also a private tutor for young kids, preschool all the way up to eighth grade. A quick note about the pictures as well. 100% of what you'll see, I took myself with my own iPhones, going all the way back to the 6 into more of the modern day 16 Pro Max. And I literally took over 100,000 pictures through all of my travels, only kept about a quarter of that. And I promise you, this is not a lie. I literally sifted through all 25,000 plus to handpick just over 325 that we'll enjoy throughout this hour-long talk. But before going out into the world, the teacher had to come to the reality that the teacher was not such an expert and I needed to embrace the role of student. So, how do you do it? How do you get out into the world and just book a one-way ticket? Well, you better learn what vaccinations you need for the countries that you're interested in visiting. Give yourself plenty of time to talk to your primary care physician. You may even be referred to a travel nurse. I also needed to let the lease expire from my apartment and move everything into a temperature controlled storage unit. I strategically set it up near my parents' home, gave them a spare key along with my sister in the event that would be needed while I was abroad. Sometimes I would store my car, like in my grandparents' garage one time, or in the other two instances leaving, I sold my car. And in this case, it was to a young Polish woman who had just moved from her homeland and was quite excited to get her independence and owning her first vehicle here in America. I am full of immense gratitude. This is derived from my supportive parents who really taught me the practicalities of travel. So they certainly are not rich, but every summer they would make sure that we had enough funds to drive somewhere in North America. I could have been to the Pacific Northwest, down to visit my uncle in Texas, to see Mickey Mouse in Disneyland or even World, and even up to New York City for my high school graduation. My grandparents taught me the possibilities of travel. So they traveled 90 countries together in their 65 years of marriage, and you could imagine how this planted a seed in me from such a young age. Asking them questions about other people, cultures, the unbelievable foods that they tried. In fact, I remember this picture hanging in their apartment and thinking to myself, what is that big, beautiful building behind them? What is that gorgeous garment that grandma is wrapped in? They always encouraged my cousins and I to take their souvenirs off the shelves, flip through their photo albums, but most importantly to them, to learn about other places and other people. What a full circle moment it was for me to stand exactly where they had about 3 decades prior. And after this day at my visit to the Taj Mahal in Agra, India, I FaceTimed my grandma to let her know just how much of an influence she had on me. All right, let's dive into this adventure.
Wow! Woo! It's amazing. Woo! Hello!
So, when you're in Baños, Ecuador, this is the iconic bungee jump to do, where you literally jump off a bridge. All right, everyone, we'll take flight into our first of three sections. Each section, by the way, has four lessons. So, in the traveler's mindset, we begin with lesson number one, embracing flexibility. Now, you're really going to have to adapt this mindset pretty much from the get-go in situations like uh, delayed flights, even canceled flights. In one situation, I had to get to the next city by the next day. So instead of a 2 hour flight, I quickly pivoted to a 16-hour overnight bus ride. It was horrible, but you do what you got to do. Driving on the left side of the road in places like Australia and New Zealand, I was reminded of my teenage years with my hand shakily on the steering wheel in the Kmart parking lots. Eventually, though, with practice, you do get used to it. Your brain kind of reverses all the commands that you learn here in the United States, and off you go. Or even using the restroom in places like Southeast Asia, India, West Africa. It can be very challenging. It can be quite an adjustment. I'm not going to give you the graphic details, but you have to get good at the squat, and of course, having the sanitary products necessary to complete the process. I can't believe I had the wherewithal to take a photo during this troubling time because, as beautiful as this picture is in Patagonia, in the south of South America, I was totally lost on a hike that was supposed to take 12 hours. You leave before sunrise, that way you can return by sunset. And about two-thirds of the way through, I just totally lost the path. There were no other hikers for something like 3 or 4 hours. And I had this moment of just saying to myself, like, Brian, you have to get your act together, or you are literally going to be sleeping alone outside in the wilderness tonight. So I just retraced my steps like 2 or 3 times, bound and determined, found my way back on the path. I did get back after sunset, so it was dark, but at least I made it back to the accommodation in time. Crowded buses, like in West Africa, absolutely difficult. But the situation I want to tell you about was in South America. I was on a bus. The bus driver pulled over for a rest stop. I thought he said that we had 15 minutes to rest. And I must have misunderstood the Spanish, or who knows what happened. But I came out of the restroom and the bus had left without me, including both of my backpacks. So, literally, all of my possessions gone. I'm just standing there, trying not to panic. I ended up waiting for new buses to come along and asked them if they were going to the same city. One of them, fortunately, was. He even had the phone number of my original bus driver. Called him up as we drove, asked him to wait around for me, and fortunately, he did. So I was able to retrieve my things and get to the next station in one piece. So the point here, have backup plans, be prepared to pivot along the way, and just remember that growth occurs when you're forced to step outside of your comfort zone. I do understand, though, that there are non negotiable activities such as walking the Inca Trail. You sometimes need to book this 6 to even 12 months in advance, depending on the popularity of the tour that you're signing up for. Or another example would be Sakura season, the cherry blossoms in Japan. This is basically April every single year. So, those situations, there's not a whole lot of wiggle room. But if you do have any version of open ended travel, I really encourage that way of getting around because this is when flexibility occurs and therefore serendipity is allowed to take place. Number two, pursue hobbies and interests. I'm kind of like an amateur cook at home, and pretty basic at that. But when I'm on the road, oh my gosh, I'm a master chef. Like here in Southeast Asia, you might meet the cook, excuse me, the teacher in the local market. She'll demonstrate like how the different crops might marry with one another, how the flavors mix. Then you'll go back to her school. She'll do a cooking demonstration for the dish or dishes that you're going to tackle. You do so alongside fellow travelers, your pupils for the day. And then, of course, the best part is that you get to indulge in the fruits of your labor after all that hard work. So you usually get a recipe book as well, and hopefully you've made some friends along the way. I'm not a professional photographer, but when you take over 100,000 pictures, you tend to get pretty good at it. So patience, persistence, good luck, all of that comes into play. And of course, you take a lot of bad pictures to hopefully capture one good moment. Cycling, I don't do much of that in Chicago, but when I'm out there on, travel duty, I just will hop on a bike whenever I can to get around and explore. Hiking and climbing, this is a huge one for me. And it's quite rewarding too. This is a couple of shots that we see along the Camino de Santiago from Porto, Portugal, all the way up to the northwest of Spain. And behind me is the famous cathedral where St. James's remains are buried. So many different caminos from many different countries, including Portugal, France, and Spain, all ending behind me in the photo on the right. And by the way, there are certain hobbies that I took up that I'm not so good at. There's no pictures of surfing because I am a terrible surfer. Here we see a couple examples of a vow of silence on a meditation retreat in the mountains of Chiang Rai, Thailand. I committed to 3 days And honestly, even after one day, I was going crazy. I just wanted to talk to everyone, and I just thought it was so beautiful up there. But the purpose was to learn different ways of meditation, to forget your troubles and the outside world. There was an election about to take place in America. I had to put that out of my mind. And what amazed me is that people here were taking 21 or even 28-day vows of silence. Live entertainment, always a great way to experience a place. The Hungarian Opera House in Budapest, quite beautiful with the fresco of Greek gods, a brass chandelier coming down the middle there. Or the Sydney Opera House in Australia, getting 10th row seats. The pianist was electric, and that orchestra to accompany him was absolutely phenomenal. You can imagine the acoustics quite great. Sometimes you can even see local community members performing, like here in Cusco, the traditional dance and costumes on display here, or the Porteños Buenos Aires performing tango, dinner and a show. And sometimes classes are also offered in different situations along the way. Or you just walk along the street at night, like a place like Cartagena, Colombia, and you might see a break dancing troupe trying to make a little bit of money. Pretty fantastic. Another example of live entertainment out there in the world. So these hobbies, honestly, for some reason, felt unattainable at home. Like I'm not as motivated in Chicago. But when you're out there, then all of a sudden it's like, well, got to take advantage, right? These are treasures begging to be showcased. So why not take advantage? And most likely you're going to be paired with a proud, smart, passionate local who can't wait to show off their national treasures. Music, a restaurant, a glacier, whatever it may be. This all comes to life. And of course, you learn much more than you ever thought you could pack into your brain along the way as well. Number three, turn fear into opportunity. So this really takes hobbies up to the next level, such as whitewater rafting. It was not as terrifying as I thought it was going to be. An example here in Costa Rica, rappelling down a waterfall on the left in Southeast Asia, thrilling, as was basically sledding down a volcano in Nicaragua on the right. That happened to be at sunset, made for a nice picture as well. I was totally terrified to ride a motorbike in Southeast Asia. And then I met a local named Dal on the island of Bali. And he promised me that he was a safe driver, that we were just going to, uh, you know, go around the neighborhood, ease into it, get me used to it. Eventually, he taught me how to operate a motorbike. And then I was able to access so many parts of Southeast Asia during my I think it's a combined 1 year that I've been in Southeast Asia. Places that buses can't get to, official big tours can't access, but the motorbikes are able to really allow you to see so many parts of that great region of the world. I got my open water and eventually advanced scuba diving certification. I've now scuba dived along the coasts of 5 continents, seeing magnificent marine life like our beautiful manta rays that I happen to spot well in Fiji or along Australia's east coast, turtles, pretty much as long as my 6 foot tall body. So, pretty amazing way to see a country from underwater or way up in the sky. My first skydiving experience. This was also along Australia's east coast, Byron Bay. And it's totally chaotic as you're tumbling out of the plane for 45 seconds of free fall. And then the instructor hopefully remembers to pull the parachute, and then it goes totally still. And as you are slowly drifting down to the beach, you see manta rays, whales breaching. It's a magical experience to do, especially in that spot. To the turquoise coast in the country of Turkey, we see the beautiful Mediterranean waters below as I experienced my first paragliding. Sure, also a thrill. So, a lot of this came from the encouragement of other travelers, new friends who basically said, Brian, why can't you do it? Go for it. That coupled with my own self-determination, it kind of was just this snowballing of successes. I became addicted to these types of activities, not necessarily every day or every week as I traveled, but it really taught me that I am looking for a thrill like this every once in a while as I travel. Number four, super important. We've had a lot of fun in lessons two and three, but you absolutely have to prioritize your health. I broke this up into two sections because, of course, we have to talk about physical health first. Got to take care of your body, keep yourself in one piece as you go along. I hiked the Kalalau Trail in Hawaii on the island of Kauai. First 3 miles started out great, going along fine. It had rained the night before, so it was slippery. And unfortunately, my right foot slipped off the ledge. I had a very heavy backpack on, including the tent and water, food, basically everything you need to survive on your own for something like a 36 to 48-hour period. All that weight came crashing down on my left knee. It hurt. I didn't realize though that I fractured my fibula in that moment. So I got up in a lot of pain, but just thought, oh man, it really hurts. I'm going to keep going. So I literally walked for 9 miles on the fractured fibula to Kalalau Beach, set up the tent, did the overnight thing, woke up kind of sore, but then the next day heading back, it was quite arduous. With about 2 miles left, my body totally froze up. I truly went only 1 mile per hour those final 2 miles. And then I just basically had to be off my feet and allow my fracture to slowly heal itself after that hike. Additionally, I fell in a slippery bathtub. That's how I fractured two ribs, which we see in the left panel. And the two on the right is a result of my rolling my ankle while hiking in Bulgaria and getting a fractured left ankle. So I'd never seen my body turn that color before. In both of these cases, again, fortunately, I didn't have to go home, but I had to significantly slow down my travels to allow my body to heal. It's also important to remember to get plenty of sleep. I'm showing you lots of adventurous pictures, but about a third of my days of travel, I'm doing little to nothing, and that's very okay. The other half is emotional and mental health, very important as well. You have to remember that when you are alone in the world for multiple weeks, months, or in my case, years, you're definitely going to feel homesickness. Thankfully, we have technology, including FaceTime, Facebook Messenger, which allows you to stay in touch with loved ones. If I felt lonely, I would strike up a conversation with fellow hostelers. I would listen to my music, journal. There are many ways to help cope with it. And sometimes it's okay to just sit with your loneliness and process that as well. Culture shock will also hit you hard, almost as a guarantee, no matter where you go, no matter how many times you've been to that country. I would just advise to do as much research as you can ahead of time, ask questions while you're there, be vulnerable, and absorb it. Think of it as an opportunity. Difficult places like India, where the crowds are intense, the heat can be overwhelming, the smells not always so pleasant. Or like in Myanmar, when I saw these kids who should have been in school instead panhandling for money, forced to do so by their parents. and that just breaks my heart as a human, but especially as a teacher. But this is how they survive. Very basic housing situations in West Africa. We see shacks, even huts in places like Mauritania. It's tough to witness, and it can be depressing to take in after a while. I went to go get coffee in Senegal one time, and the boys on the left just waited outside the whole hour that I was in the coffee house, just praying that I would give them money as I left. So, extremely poor countries like Senegal, Sierra Leone. It's really an eye opener as to what some of the rest of the world has to deal with. And speaking of that region, West Africa, just getting through these countries, if you want to see another town or city, you are crammed into these gigantic vehicles that don't have air conditioning, that are going to get lots of flat tires along the way, many detours, all sorts of surprises. Babies are crying, and you want to cry right along with them. It's brutal. It really is. But you have the opportunity to leave challenging places early, right? If you have some flexibility while traveling, then you should take advantage of that. The flip side is that you can stay in your favorite spots longer if you fall in love with the destination, or even locals. You can enjoy that time with them. So I think it's really about just finding your balance and discovering really what you want out of travel, and making the most of that opportunity. So I found it to be very helpful to have the perspective of now visiting over 60 countries. And yes, we certainly have our problems here at home, but at the same time, problems exist everywhere, right? So they may be varying degrees, or differing severity, but everyone in the world is grappling with something, and we never know what somebody is going through in any given day. So I always return home with immense gratitude, feeling so blessed to have job opportunities like this one, a wonderful education, access to healthcare, food on the table, 3 meals a day. I am very blessed, and I truly try not to take that for granted. So this bridges us into the second section of the presentation, which, as you may remember, is connecting with the world. Here I talk about immersing yourself into other cultures and the joys of volunteering and giving back, followed by the third and final main section, what matters most. So detaching from technology, getting out into nature, soaking that up. And I also explain the rewards of bonding with fellow travelers and local people who I've met along the way and now have been friends with for, in some cases, over 10 years. So I take everyone into the afterglow. This is just kind of a brief coming home, how to readjust to life in America, what that feels like each time, the positives, the negatives, the in-betweens, and of course, finishing with a Q&A. So I hope that you enjoyed this free preview of Travel Truths, Lessons Learned Abroad. My name is Brian Michalski. I would love to hear from you if you have any questions, or if you would like to inquire about booking. My email is brian@endlesspassport.com.